working at this point. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I hope y'all are doing great. So it's great to have you all here for our internship talk of the series. So today we are diving we are diving into something that is not only just exciting but is also super inspiring. It is called the path to research internship abroad. Now, who doesn't love the idea to study or even like working in a different country, right? Well, today you'll hear firsthand how to make that dream into a reality. So before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Afreen Gohar. I'm representing the Student Placement Council and I'll be moderating today's session. So our speaker for today is someone who has had a truly unique experience. So let me introduce you to Muskan. Not only has she been with the IIT Madras BS program that we have from its very first intake, but she's also a student of civil engineering with a passion of data science, as we can understand. Quite the combo, right? So that was impressive, right? But we have more to talk about. Her unique combination of skills and her determination has actually earned her the prestigious Mitacs Globalink research internship in Canada. I mean, how cool is that, right? A summer spent researching reliability and safety of structures, all while in one of the most beautiful countries of the world. But the best part is that Muskan isn't just here to talk about how awesome her internship was. She's going to break down her journey for you. Actually, it's going to be step by step from how her education shaped her profile to how she prepared for the MyTax application. And more importantly, I would say that how you can start working towards some similar opportunities, whether it's MyTax or other internships abroad. So, trust me, after this talk, you will realize that applying for something big doesn't have to be very intimidating. It's about starting small, building your profile, and having the right kind of mindset, I would say. And guess what? Muskan is leaving proof that it's all possible. And of course, we want to keep this session very interactive as possible. So I understand that you all have burning questions about her experience or maybe even the application process that she has gone through. And do not shy away because feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we'll get them answered. And remember that no question is too small. So feel free, even you can ask the question like, what's the weather in Canada like? So feel free to even ask that. I think Muskan will be happy enough to answer you that question as well. Okay, so all right, enough from me. I'll step aside now. Let's hear from the person you've all come to listen to. Over to you, Muskan.
Thank you so much, Afreen, for those kind words. And hello to everyone who's taken time off on a Wednesday evening to come and sit here and listen to me chatter. I hope that you guys have gained some value from it. Wow, we're already 150 people here. So it's a big party. I'll move on from this slide so that you can all join the interactive presentation. Like Afreen said, no question is too small. And we'll chat about the weather in Canada later. But first, I'd like you all to just scan the QR code, join, start giving me some reactions, and then we can move ahead into the main presentation. Again, Afreen has really mentioned some great points today. So thank you for that. One thing she said was don't be intimidated. And I think that's what I'm going to talk about in the presentation as well. But never think of something you are doing right now as too small. I know that a lot of us, especially as students in such a competitive country where everyone's really doing well, we really feel like, Array, what I'm doing is nothing. And what the people in front of me are doing is really great. And I'm nowhere compared to that. So I won't get an opportunity. That's not the case. Okay. If I can do it, you guys can definitely do it. One disclaimer though, the MyTax internship is no longer open for applications from Indian students. But based on what I'm going to tell you, you can use those, key fundamentals to apply for any other internship. This entire internship experience and the openings, the things that are available, it keeps on changing. But don't be afraid to look for opportunities, is what I would say. Just because my tax isn't going on, just because dad wise isn't going on, doesn't mean that other opportunities aren't available. OIST is available, char park is available, and you'll see that there are many opportunities that if you just start looking, you'll be kind of confused. And now I think we have a decent number of people reacting. We already have some questions coming in, so let's get started. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So today's agenda, because of the kind introduction from Afreen, you've gotten to know a little bit about me. I want to get to know you, and that's going to be our first step. Then I'll talk a bit about my journey and what everyone's here for, the key stages that I went through that helped my application and got me the Mitacs internship. Then the importance of exposure, whether it's international or local, and then how you can find and most importantly select the right opportunity for yourself. And then I'm going to give you some free advice on creativity and taking risks. And then again, some actionable steps that you can take, and we'll end with the Q&A. But every couple of slides, I'm going to pause for questions just so that I'm still talking about something that's relevant to everybody here. So let's go ahead and you guys can start voting on this. Let's see how many people here are just doing the IIT degree, what kind of varied personalities we have in the group with us. And in the meanwhile, I'll talk about my two degrees. So, like I've been mentioned already, I'm studying civil engineering as well. And that has been my passion for a long, long time because I don't know if a lot of you know about the Sustainable Development Goals, but that's something that really inspired me from a young age. And for me, at that point, the only way I thought of myself making a difference was by joining civil engineering. And because of later on, I got more exposure and IIT started this course. I joined because without data, you can't really make any change in the world. And you guys already know that because you're also in this degree. And I've been here since the first batch and it's taught me a lot and it's changed my perspective as well. Great. So a lot of you are just doing the BS, but I see a couple of you who are doing two or more programs. We have a few more questions relating to that. So are you guys only studying tech? And by that I mean things related to software, computers, etc. Or are some people studying the unrelated, like civil engineering or I don't know, healthcare, psychology? There, okay. I didn't even expect 8 people or now 10 to say that. I mean, 10 of you to be here, but it's nice to see that there's a good mix. We have about a quarter who are doing something unrelated. So I have some good news for you guys coming up, and I think we can move on from this slide. So, yeah, now I'd just like to know where you guys are in your academic journey till now. And if you're in your third year in your on campus degree, but foundation and IIT, still go ahead with third year. So, whatever is higher, like if you're in the degree stage already, then but you're still in like second year of your normal like on campus degree, then choose degree level. So great, a lot of you are in the right spot to actually start making those changes, and it's a very exciting place to be because you make a lot of mistakes and you learn a lot of things. And I think, I mean, it wasn't as exciting as the internship abroad, but it's a close second. That second year slash the first diploma part where you don't know much, but the world is your oyster, right? Alrighty, we can move on. Yeah. Now I'd just like a one word or a one short sentence about what you want to learn today. So don't be shy, let me know, and then I'll, highlight those things in my presentation. All right. Getting internships, learnings, learn how to think beyond. That's a great one. Uh, And clarity. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but clarity is not something I have. I don't think that's something you get at a very early stage, but I'll try shedding some light on it nonetheless. All right, we have profile building, opportunity, how to search, explore new things, what to ignore. That's another good one. What to do right. All right, great. Time management, how to find a professor, intermingling of domains. I like that one. So let's get into it. So I'm Muskan, and it's been a pleasure to get to know a bit about who you guys are as well. I'm an aspiring structural engineer, and I have a passion for data driven decision making. And like it's been mentioned, I was in the first batch, first intake of the PS program. So I've spent quite a while with this degree and stuff. And my goal today is to shed some light on how you guys can have fun and also learn as much as possible. Let's now get into it. So the people who asked me about intermingling of domains, here's what I would say to you. And the people who are only in tech and that's your focus and that's your passion, that's great. But from everyone I've met, irrespective of where they come from, if they're in India, if they're from Canada or Europe, wherever, you guys all have passions, right? You have a passion that isn't related to data science. It could be photography, hiking, cooking, anything. So you have data science on one hand, and you have your passion on the other hand, which may or might not be unrelated, but where they overlap is where magic happens. So don't be afraid to try to make your own magic. There will be ideas that only you can think of because you're the only one who's interested in these two things, and you're the only one who's had your life experience that has given you a very unique perspective. So never be afraid to let your uniqueness show. With civil engineering, I joined, I didn't know you could use data in it. And then after a bunch of different projects and internships, I realized that you have data everywhere, right? That's what they teach us in the course, that data is something that permeates through everything. And I realized that for something like groundwater prediction, or how much water is in a well, or how much traffic is going to flow through a certain intersection, you need data. And then, like, my ideas couldn't have come out if I did not pursue civil engineering, and they couldn't have come up if I didn't pursue data science. So don't let go of your other passions is something that I would want you to keep in mind through the rest of this. And now, from a blank slate to an impressive profile. I wouldn't say that my profile is the most impressive. I'm sure you could find a bunch of other people who can, claim that. But mine is way more impressive than when I started, right? In 2021, when I joined this program, I didn't have a well-built profile. I was just out of school. And then I did things like these macarons that you can see, colorful, unrelated things that build on top of each other. So first, in my first year, I just worked on getting my CGPA up and understanding as much as I could about my courses. And then I participated in my college tech fest. Now, that experience was unique because they never let a second year student host an event. But because my professors and my seniors had seen how passionate I am, they were willing to take a chance on me. So that's number one. Start talking to people, start gaining their knowledge, and when they see that you're interested, they will give you these opportunities. So that was number one. That tech fest event was a failure in many senses of the word, but I learned a lot about working with diverse teams, of how to deal with failure and, budgeting and stuff. I wouldn't really say I use any data science in it, but those other skills are what helped me get my next opportunity when I became a volunteer research intern in a small company where I live. So they had a partnership with my university. Again, because my professors knew the kind of work I do, they nominated me for this position. So always work with your professors and go above and beyond, at least in your first few years. It's good to just try a lot of things, mix and match. Again, with this internship, I wasn't really doing any structural engineering. And the data we were gathering was interesting because we had to go through newspaper articles and figure out what the government was saying about certain policies. But that is also data, right? So that made me realize that even for a business doing research and development, data is a plays a very important role, and that's from the beginning stages. So I had research exposure by this point and a little bit of understanding of data and how to get a product out there. And then at the end of my second year in my BTech degree, I got a remote internship with a firm in New Zealand, and this was offered by the University of Auckland, and it was completely like a part time just to get to know the business and the problems they face and develop that problem solving skill. And at this stage, if we have any questions, Afreen, we could take them from the chat box. Just a couple before moving on to the next part of the presentation.
Uh, Ma'am, is your bachelor's in civil? Yes, it is. And so we have a question: how to make my way to an internship abroad?
So, as I'm talking about my journey, this is one of the things you could do. And it all starts with, taking a more active role in your college, talking to your faculty, your professors. If you're only in the IIT degree, then become a TA, become a course mentor, and start small, right? If you want to go into research, how many research papers are you reading? Do you have an idea of what the research scene is like right now? If you have started reading papers, have you tried to summarize that into a technical report? Once you've done that, email the professors who've written those research papers and talk to them. There's always a corresponding author in a research paper. They've they'll give you their email and you can send them a message saying or an email saying, "Hi, I read your paper titled so and so, and I had top questions about XYZ." So start small. That's the first thing I would say.
Okay, so next question we have is: I'm in third year now. How to get internship? This is from Janani.
Okay. Um, I'm not sure if you mean third year of your BS degree, like the diploma, or you mean another degree. If you're in the third year of another degree, I would suggest talking to your professors. Professors have a very vast network. If you haven't started making relationships with your professors, start now. It's not too late. Talk to them.
Another degree.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay. So talk to them, talk about your aspirations, ask them, hey, ma'am or sir, do you know anyone who's doing this? Because I'm interested in, say, I don't know, fine arts, right? And if you're doing a fine arts degree, you can be like, hi, we studied uh, painting using oil paint, but using this other medium, do you know anyone who's doing that? And branch out, ask them questions about their job, and then slowly get into that thing of, hey, do you have any opportunities? Can I apprentice with you? Can I intern with you? And there are lots of applications you can search for them online. Like LinkedIn is a good place for things in India. And if you're searching for things abroad, then like I mentioned, Mitacs and DAR have stopped taking applicants from India. but Charpak is still taking applications. So you need to find professors for that, which again, what you'll want to do is look at universities, look at their faculty, look at the papers they've written, see if you identify with that, if your interests align, and then find it. For other internships like industry internships abroad, I can't lie, because of the diplomatic relations and visa issues, India doesn't really have a lot of opportunities with that. But and I personally don't have experience with that. I've only gone through a program. But don't hesitate to try, is what I would say. Don't spam people, but don't hesitate to try. I hope that answered that question. We can
Yes.
take one more and
Okay,
then.
so there's one more question from Azan. He says that how do you get your first interview? Leave aside internships and placements. Sometimes we never hear back from the companies. How do you prove yourself in the first place? What made you stand out among hundreds of other applicants? Is it your CV, motivation letter, or letter of recommendation?
Okay. So uh, I again, if you mean like a competitive program like Mitacs has its own screening process that we are not aware of. So I can't tell you what made Mitacs send my profile to the faculty. But in the coming slides, I'll share what the faculty told me that he liked about my profile. The other thing, if you're applying through LinkedIn and things like that, well, it's I don't have the best news for you. The job market is not in a good place right now. And so don't feel disheartened that you're not getting a reply. Your resume could be really nice, but maybe they don't have enough openings or they found someone who's better. And it's not something that you personally are at fault for. Um, how you could get around that, like I mentioned earlier, is through your network, right? If your professor believes in you, they have a vast network and they will talk to their friends and be like, hey, I have this student and they're really, really good. So you need to first build a working relationship with your professor and then they can recommend you. And if you have a startup nearby, right, you reach out to their founder on LinkedIn and you say that, hey, I can help you for 3 months and this is my skill set, like we do for the BDM project and the diploma. You reach out to companies and you say, I can help you. And once they take a chance on you, that's your foot in the door. You don't even need to go back to work for them. They can then recommend you to other people. So a personal recommendation works much better than a LOR in industrial internships. Um, yeah, I think that's all I have to offer for that question. If you have something more specific, then I can give you more advice. And I'm in the same boat. I'm also looking for internships again. It's not that you get one internship and you're sorted for life, right? You have to keep doing it again and again. And it's a process. I can't lie. It's not easy, but hopefully things like this can give you the right direction and make it slightly easier. Do we have anything else?
Ma'am, you could continue and then again we could take the question.
Sure. That sounds great. All right. So these were my main experiences that helped me get the skills to do my Mitacs internship. And then eh, here it seems very nice, right? I sent it in, I got the Mitacs internship. Wasn't the case. Mitacs doesn't ask for a statement of purpose or a motivation letter, but they ask you what are your research interests, what prior experience do you have with research, and uh, another like general question. So it's kind of like a motivation letter, but split into parts. And some applications will ask you questions like that. Some will take a whole motivation letter. For my um, profile, what I did was I looked at the projects, I looked at the professors, and I saw where my passion was aligning, and I tailored it to that. As you would have noticed, I hadn't done anything specifically in structural. So I needed to tell the person who's reading my answers that even though I haven't done it till now, trust me, I can do it. And That's how I did it. I spoke about how in the New Zealand internship, I studied the strength of materials and fundamentals, and I could transfer those skills here. I spoke about how I've used data in different settings. I've done the PDM project, I've used it in my personal projects, and therefore I could use it for structural engineering. And that willingness to take on a challenge, even though I haven't done it before, came through in my application. My specific project was in the earthquake engineering lab, and one of the components of that project was to extract data from research papers because they have a lot of experimental data, and you can actually use that in your own research without having to do any experiments yourself. So it's kind of like in a literature review, you would read a bunch of papers, like 50 to 100 papers, and then find the key commonalities and then analyze it yourself. This is something similar but using data. So that's another idea. If you want to start researching things on your own, read papers, read the methodology of one, then go back and find something similar with a different experiment, get data from that, build up your own data set, and then do some analysis on it. And this advice could be used in any field, it's not just related to engineering. And then my like data science came together, the civil engineering background came together, and the work from my other internships came together, and I was selected for Mitacs. So that is how it happened. It was not, I applied in September, I got in December. No, it was many years of doing those small things that built up to this. And this this is what my professor told me that he liked about my profile and why he chose me out of like 30, 40 applicants which my tax had sent to him. So after the initial screening from my tax, I had a Zoom meeting with my professor, and he said that he saw that I was curious and willing to take on a challenge and learn as much as possible. And that brings me to another thing: be authentic, right? Now ChatGPT can write a lot of things for you and make you seem like someone who you're not. So always remember, even if you're using not even AI, but even if you're using your friend's help to craft your motivation letter, make sure that your personality is still shining through. Because these people, one thing you need to realize is the professors or the hiring managers or whoever, they meet hundreds, if not thousands, of people throughout their career. So they develop a kind of sixth sense to understand who's authentic and who's fibbing. So always be authentic. Next, I have a good CGPA. My CGPA in my offline degree is 9.4 or 5, and in IIT as well as 9.4, 9.5. So that really helps, because even though we know that our degree is not easy, someone sitting in front of us will say, oh, this is online, so what's the, you know what did you do? They think you just pass. But having a good CGPA kind of tells them that no, it's not just something that you're doing online, it also shows that you're actually working hard. But if you don't have a CGPA that's 7 or above, don't be disheartened. Your other projects and your um, yeah, projects and your LORs can also show that you're a really good candidate. So a good CGPA is good to have, but like you see here, it's not the first thing that I've mentioned, right? Next is great LORs. So this again, I'll talk specifically about people who are only doing the IIT degree first. IIT gives a letter of support because unless someone has worked with you personally one on one, they can't vouch for you. And it's unfair to expect them to, right? It's like if you're taking a loan from a bank, you can't just tell the bank, trust me, I make a lot of money and therefore I'll pay you back. They do a lot of background checks and stuff. So they have a very personal understanding of your capability. Similarly, a professor is kind of like that. They're going to vouch for you, but they need to do those background checks first. And the best way they can do that is working with you personally. For IIT specifically, become a TA or a course mentor as soon as you can. If you're only doing that degree, join the clubs, and even in your house, try to get a administrative position, because once you have that experience and then you work with the professor, they'll be very impressed with your skills and your work ethic. And people who are doing an in-campus program as well, don't just think that, okay, I see my professors daily, so they'll write me a letter of recommendation. You don't want to end up in a situation where you have to apply in 1 month or 2 months, and your professors say that I don't know enough about you to write an LOR. Start working with them on projects, go to them after class, talk to them, see what you can gain beyond the class, because that report is what will showcase in your LOR. Because a generic LOR is the same as no LOR, right? And lastly, my professor said that he thought I had transferable skills. So, like I spoke about earlier, showing any experience, I didn't have a single paid internship before the Mitacs internship. So, having any sort of experience shows them that you're capable of actually seeing through a project. They're not taking a chance on you. You've kind of proved that, yeah, I'm a candidate who will make an effort, and I have already done that in XYZ situations. So, highlight that, especially in your resume. There are also two things about the resume, right? There's one where you're applying on an online job portal and it's completely software detected. So it's just looking for keywords. There's another where you've sent your CV directly to a professor and they actually take the time to read it. If you've written a good email or your profile has been pre-screened by like a team like Mitacs, then the professor is actually going to take the time to read it. So you want it to be well formatted, but you also want to, without doing the same thing as your motivation letter, where you're saying, I can do this, and I'm passionate, you can show your passion through your past experiences by saying, instead of just saying, I did an internship with a firm in New Zealand, I used data and technical assessment to make sure that homes in New Zealand are safe for occupancy. And then I've written that my interest is safe and resilient structures, because both of those things show what I've done and they show that I'll be a good candidate in the next internship. Um, right? The next slide is what exposure teaches you. So any exposure is what will shape you as a person. I know I've focused only on technical skills till now, but the internship, and I'm not just talking about in Canada. Even in India, we are a very diverse country. We have, like, people are highly experienced. So you will learn things. And the best thing you learn is how to talk to people and how to extract knowledge from them. So that's a very important takeaway from any work experience you get. And that's why you should start trying to get work experience as soon as possible. Things like, in fact, yeah, the BDM project that we all do is a very good, tester for that. It teaches you how to reach out to people and actually convince them to give you something, which is their data, in exchange for something, which is your analysis. And that basic trade-off is what you're doing for every other opportunity that you try to find. So use those same things that you used for the BDM project. Go to people, tell them, hey, I can offer you so and so. Give me the opportunity. And then go and work with them. In my internship, my friends were from all over the world. I met people from Germany, the UK, Ukraine, France, from people from different places in India, which I would have never gone to. Like, I never went to Mysore in my life, but one of my closest friends in Canada was from Mysore. So I got to experience a bit of her culture while I was in Canada. And it gives you a whole new perspective on things, because you get to see the world and from their eyes, right? You are informed about their culture, the experiences they have lived till now, how schooling is different, how their work ethic is different, and it's really nice. Another thing you get to experience is food. So, like, I'm someone who really enjoys trying out different things. So, in Canada, I tried food from different continents, which you don't need to actually go that to those places to experience their culture, because it's such a diverse place. And yeah, so I think it's really nice to start getting opportunities as soon as you can, and let that be in India, because that will, prepare you. You start small, you start with a place in India, and then you meet people from different states in India. That gives you experience. Then you go outside India and you've already met these people. You know that different people behave differently. So you go there and you already have that, you're prepared that, okay, the person I meet now is not going to be like me. And that's a good thing. Another international exposure you can get while without you know getting an internship is if you're into research, and you can either on your own with one professor or with a team and a professor, you can write a paper and submit it to a conference. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. None of my advice today is easy, get rich quick. But if you make that effort, 6 months, 1 year, you write a paper, submit it to an international conference. And some conferences, you can email them and say, I'm a student, I will volunteer for you while I am attending. Is there any sponsorship available? I personally haven't done this, but I know that this is possible. So that allows you to go to a different country for a week and experience their culture and interact with the research community as a whole. So people who attend your talk on your paper get to know your name, and maybe someone's impressed with you, they know that you can do work, and they say that, I'm a professor in whatever Switzerland, and you can come work with me. So that's another way to get your foot in the door. I had a paper on port sustainability of all things, where we again use data but in a very different way, in a qualitative way. And it was accepted into a conference in China. So I couldn't go for that, but if you do have that opportunity, I would really recommend you take it, because even a week in a new country, it teaches you a lot of things. And there's no better way to do it, in my opinion, than go to a conference, because you have that short immersion, and if you don't like it, you're coming back home. So now let's talk about selecting projects and opportunities. Um, when you're searching for things, I would suggest, like, the internet is your best friend. And because there's a cycle with these things, some opportunities go and others come. You can start just by searching international research scholarship for Indian students, and like, just talk just use those keywords, see what comes up, and definitely look for things with the scholarship. I know someone had mentioned about funding earlier. Funding is very important, especially for an international internship. It might seem really nice that you can pay and go, but I wouldn't suggest it for two reasons. One, you're doing work, and therefore you should not be paying, even though it's an opportunity. An unpaid internship is one thing in India, where, because it's much more affordable for us, right? And our culture is a bit different. Your first few opportunities, they might end up being unpaid. But if you're going abroad and into a first world country specifically, they are paying their own students because they have to. Their labor laws dictate a minimum wage. If you have to either pay for an internship or do it unpaid, you are, in a sense, being exploited according to their labor laws. So it's very easy to go into a scam like this. And it's very tempting also, right? Oh, I might have to pay this much for a 3 month vacation, but maybe in 2 lakhs I can do it and spend get the work experience. But the other thing is, in the industry, people know when you've paid for an internship, because these programs, you just need to do a quick Google search and your future employer will get to know that you paid for it. So they then start questioning your skills, even though you've done nothing wrong. And lastly, in their terms and conditions, many times they say that you cannot write this in your CV as an internship, even though it is marketed as one, because they know that they are circumventing those labor laws. And if they call you an intern in the paperwork, then they have done something illegal. So you might not even get to write it as an internship. And that's not something that you want to do after investing so much of your time, energy, and money. So definitely use the word scholarship or fellowship and search that way. If you're reaching out to professors directly, um, all the IITs at some time in the year come out with their own internships, and they also have a stipend. So apply for those first off. If you're applying to a professor directly in India, because of the way funding works here, that opportunity might be unpaid. I would still suggest you take it, because they have a dearth of knowledge that you won't get anywhere else, right? If you're cold emailing professors abroad, check first. They'll mention the grants they have on their website, and those grants generally say something like, if you are researching healthcare and data science specifically for cancer research, you can use this money there. So if that ends up being your passion and your specialization, you might be able to get the grant. I mean, your funding might be through that grant, and that's beneficial for both you and the professor. So do your research even before you actually start your research internship. Be very thorough with your research. It's not a guarantee that you'll get it just by cold emailing. And many times they say that everything's fine, we'll pay you, and then you don't have a visa. So the paperwork is something that they won't help you with. So my first suggestion would be, look at programs like Charpak and OIST and start your search from there. Then search programs like OIST for data science or for whichever domain you're looking at. And I really think you'll be able to find something. It just might take that extra bit of effort. Now, coming to the industrial side of it, the jobs that exist today may not exist in a decade, but the jobs of the future definitely do not exist today. And that brings me to my next point, which is think outside the box. If there's a startup that you really like the work they're doing, but there's this thing inside your head saying, if I used my skills over there, I could improve it in whichever way. Find out their email IDs. You can Google it, it's typically on the website, or find their LinkedIn. Reach out to them and don't just say that, okay, I've reached out to one. No, you want to really have that interaction with a lot of people. People on LinkedIn are typically quite nice, but it's not a sure shot, right? You might reach out to 50 people and five answer, because people are busy, but they don't hate you, they won't dismiss your skills. They're just busy. So you have to make it worth their time. And sometimes, even despite that, they don't reply, that's okay. You just have to move on. So if you come up with an idea that I make art and I study data science and I could convert this into something, then you find a company that's doing something similar but not exactly. You reach out to them, say, this is my skill set, I will do this for you. And it'll be a great opportunity for the both of us. Take the leap, even if the job isn't there yet. And if you think that you can do it for one organization, why not others? Go to LinkedIn, follow their page. On the right hand side, it talks about similar companies. Reach out to them. So this is all for your internship that you'll get to build your profile. For your international internship, it is definitely through those programs, in my opinion. And if that's not working out, make sure that you're cold emailing people. All right. And before we get on to this slide, I'd like to take a couple more questions, maybe like three, four.
Okay, ma'am. So we have, did you send your professors any brag sheet? Does an LOR depend on how well your professor write it? Also, you mentioned how you had already done something in New Zealand, so you were in a good position to show some prior experience. My question is, how do you get your first experience?
So, like I said, my New Zealand experience was unpaid and it was remote, right? That's not the most appealing thing. But before that, I didn't have a single internship. What I did was in my resume, I added my projects. So I had done a research project as a part of my BTech coursework. I had done the BDM project as a part of the IIT coursework, and I had done my Tech Fest event. And they asked me in the interview about all of these, but because I had worked hard on them, I was able to talk about it. Um, that ended up being a very serendipitous thing because our college sent out an email saying, fill this Google form for this New Zealand internship. Out of about 50,000 applicants or 30,000, whatever, only about 800 were selected. And I didn't do anything specific to get it. There were a lot of my friends who had a very good resume as well, and they didn't get a call back. And again, like I'm saying, a lot of this is luck, a lot of this is how many places you apply to. So don't just look at um, an internship. Most of my resume was projects. So it, but it can't just be a project that you've done, like a case study if you've done it for your business class or economics class. That's not going to be enough because you did that for the class for some marks. What you can do is go back to it. If it was a case study, rework it into something else. Do make a dashboard for it, go above and beyond, and then put it in your profile as I did this project and I observed and analyzed so many things using whatever tools you use. A lot of my projects expose me to certain tools, the most important one being Excel, but I've also used AutoCAD and MATLAB a little bit here and there. And I put that in my resume under skills. And next to that, I'll literally say beginner or intermediate or did one certification. I'm not lying if I've done, say, Revit. I did it for 1 week and I didn't learn much. And I said that to them. I said, I'm just a beginner. I've just been exposed to it. So before you have that first experience, you already have a lot of experience. It's just academic. You need to go back and put it in a relevant structure. You need to showcase to the industry person or to the experienced professor that, hey, I don't have that much knowledge, but I have some, and therefore I can gain a lot more. You're just proving your potential to them. If you are looking for your first internship in data science, computer science, whatever, please do understand that this domain is super saturated. If you are not able to, intermingle it with something else, say there is a healthcare company who is selling a very specific wellness package for, you know, children who have knock knees or they have some sort of developmental issue, and you can tell them, I've done a project on something similar, not exactly this, but I have used this kind of data and I know how it can help your business. And then you reach out to them. That is going to be a much easier conversation than you saying, I'm just a student in my third year, please hire me. So, always think from their point of view, they want a value proposition. And trust me, all of you have a value proposition. It is just about framing it in that way. So do some thinking. If you're just starting out, if you've done no projects, firstly, I don't think that's true. I think even in the stats course that we have in foundation, at least when I took it, we could do these extra projects, and we had to make a website for it and showcase our learning. If you've done that, or if you haven't, there's already a framework for you to do it, right? They tell you the problem statement, they tell you exactly what you're supposed to make. Start there, then go back and make it better. Instead of just one graph, make a dashboard. We have all those references in our degree program. And these things are very important to businesses. If there's a professor, and professors are busy people, maybe they need their website updated. And you tell them, hey, I saw your website. And I think you've done such impactful research. I can help you with your website. You already have your foot in the door. Then you say that I did your website. You know that I work well. I read your research. I'm interested in it. Can I contribute? It's much easier for you to do things that way when you're thinking about the value you add than applying blindly. It is not really a market where you apply blindly and you just magically get something. So try these methods. They have worked for me. I've gone to professors and said, hey, ma'am, I like your research area. I want to do this project. I have a lofty idea, because when you're starting, you really don't know what's realistic. And then they like to see that you're making the effort. They will mentor you, but you have to then do the work daily. I reached out to someone who's a senior person in the industry who has done a PhD after 23 years of work experience. I just reached out to them. I said, hi, I'm a Mitacs intern who is working at the university where you did your PhD. Would you have 10 minutes to talk to me about your career progression? He luckily said yes. I've also reached out to 20 people who said no or who've never responded to me. But this kind gentleman said yes. We got on a call and I said, tell me about your day to day job. What skills do you use? Then he said, I do this, this, this. Do you like math? I was like, I love math. And then he's like, okay, do you know this subject? I was like, no, but I'm willing to learn. Please tell me your recommended resource and I will self study. So because he saw that initiative in me, he went above and beyond. He gave, not only gave me his resources, he also told me how to test myself, the industry relevant software to use alongside that so that I have the job skills as well. And because of that continued relationship, when it comes, when it's time for me to actually request for a job, I know that I can call him and say, hi, sir. Um, I did all of these things. Thank you so much for that. Could you connect me with anyone who's looking for an intern? And that goes much further than just applying. So it is not easy. I'm sorry, and it takes a long time, and I'm sorry about that as well. But it is possible. And I can tell you another example of one of my close friends who studies biotechnology. And in India, we don't really have a lot of funding for that. But she worked on, I think, three projects under one professor. And that professor liked her work so much that she connected her to her own research network in Australia. And this was not through any program. There is no program that lets you go to Australia and do research, as far as I know, where you also get a stipend. But because of this interaction and because of the trust between all three parties, right? The student, the professor, and the professor's friend, that other person, that friend in Australia said, okay, I'll take your student and I'll give her a stipend and a place to stay for 6 months. So it's all about the effort you make starting from today. And that will slowly snowball into experience for you later on. I hope those examples were good enough to give you some ideas.
Definitely very inspiring. So another question that we have is a very common question. What CGPA, what minimum CGPA should be maintained for Mitacs internship?
So I'll reiterate, Mitacs is no longer taking interns from India due to some partnership issues that are currently ongoing. It might be restarted, but it is definitely not for the 2025 intake. But Mitacs requires you to have a 8 GPA on 10, or they require 80% on 100. And each university in India will have a conversion criteria. So on your official transcript at the back, um, yeah, I have mine right here. So you probably can't see it, but this is my transcript. And on the back, it will say, it'll give you tables for how to convert your GPA into a percentage. And sometimes you are converting up. So an 80 per 8 GPA would be a 90%, or sometimes it would be different, it would be 75%. But for my tax specifically, you want an 80% minimum. For other programs, I'm not really sure because I did not apply to them. However, a good GPA doesn't hurt, right? It will not make or break your application. No professor is going to say, oh, she has a 10 on 10, I must take her. Because GPA is based on your particular university. As a thumb rule, I would say for your IIT degree, make sure it's 7.5, or at least close to that. Work towards it. Again, if you start from a 6, then you go to 6.3, 6.5, 7, 7.5, they won't really see that you've started from 6. They'll see that you have now reached 7.5 after consistent effort. However, a bad CGPA could hurt your application. And that's why GPA is something that you work on it and then you forget it. Don't think I'm the topper, this is going to get me the internship. I am the topper in my offline degree. That has not gotten me anything. Like nothing has been handed to me because of that. So for an in-person degree from a tier 2 college, you should definitely have like 1 point higher than IIT. So around 8, 8.5 is good. Again, I have to reiterate, if you don't have it, please don't feel bad about it. I know in India we have this huge pressure of marks from a very, very young age. It does not break your application completely. I have myself had times where I didn't get the perfect score or near it. I've also been lucky because sometimes I can give exams well. And it's totally fine if you can't do that. I didn't do well in JEE, and yet I have gotten internships. So your marks do not break your application.
So we have one more question. How do you know about a particular professor, like you read in their research randomly? Like, do you read their research randomly?
Yes, pretty much. There are two ways to find research. One is you go to, like, you see a newspaper article, or you go to the website and you find the professor's name. And then you go to Google Scholar, put in their name, find their profile, see what research they're publishing. The other way is you enter some keywords, you see the highest cited paper. It is typically from professors who have a really good reputation. And by this, I mean their lab has a good reputation. And you read it, you realize they've authored another highly cited paper. And then you join the dots and you realize, okay, this lab is really outputting good research that is well regarded in the industry. Um, you will always have bad apples, right? So I would not suggest just emailing a professor saying, I want to do an internship with you. I would suggest asking them questions, see how they react. Are they open to teaching? That's a very quick thing you can understand. If a professor is open to questions, you already know that they're going to be open to having a fresher join and learn from them. Sometimes professors can be busy, they can have different priorities, they might not be open to you. So if they're not open to scheduling a 15-minute chat sometime in the next 6 months, you need to understand that maybe there is no space for you in their lab. Like you can have a conversation with them, but maybe they have enough people already or anything under the sun. Look for professors who are good teachers, because the first thing when you're starting out is gaining knowledge from someone. Reach out to people in their lab if you can't get to the professor specifically. They will have postdocs, and you'll get to know this by searching their names, seeing who the co-authors are. Many times it's a PhD student. Reach out to them, say, hey, I read your paper, I tried contacting the professor, and I saw that you are also a co-author. I am curious about this specific thing in your research paper. Could we hop on a 15-minute call to talk about your research, or I'm fine to do it over email or chat? Give them options, give them a way to say no. Don't pressure someone into talking to you. No one likes that. Once you talk to them, if they say, yeah, this professor is awesome, say, okay, I was thinking of reaching out to them for an internship. Based on your recommendation, I think I'll do that. Thank you so much for sharing. Don't tell them, can you talk to the professor for me? Okay. That is again something that they might not be able to do. So then reach out to the professor, say, I've spoken to your PhD student, I like your lab, I like your research. Could we talk about it? Always make the first ask really small, because no one wants to be put in a situation where a stranger is asking them for a favor without proving themselves. If someone comes to you tomorrow from your school and says, give me like tell give me a detailed guide on how to enter the IIT program, you won't do it unless you see potential in this person. You'll say, search for it online. Did you Google it? Right? So put yourself in the professor's shoes. They're human beings. You need to learn how to communicate with them. You don't want to like push them away from your first email. And don't be aggressive. Please don't spam them. Maybe follow up once a week, once in 2 weeks, or once in 10 days. Follow up twice or maximum thrice. If they're still not opening your emails, leave it. That's not the place for you. Again, it's much easier when your professor knows another professor, or if your college has a talk. There are many times colleges call other professors to give a talk. Go and meet up with them and then say, can I have your card or can I have your email? I would like to talk to you about this in further detail. That will always be easier. You can email them with the subject line saying, I met you in this talk and could we connect further? That'll They'll remember you and they'll be like, yeah, okay, why not? So those things up they have a higher success rate.
Yes. So the next question that we have actually has a lot of speculations. So I would want you to clear the air here. So
Okay.
it's that can we join this program with BS degree?
Um so the Mitacs program in itself did not mention anything about the type of degree you need to be doing. Okay. You just need to be in you need to have finished 5 semesters while you're applying. And then it will end up being 6 by the time you go there. What you do need is 2 LORs. These have to be academic LORs. So, and it is a research internship, so it makes sense. So you want to get that research internship in before, especially as an IIT student. So even if you don't have a research internship yet, apply the next time they send a mail saying we want course mentors or we want TAs. Fill that form. Be the first person to fill that form. And then you'll get to talk to the course team. They'll give you some insights on how to go further into research and things. So then again, you'll meet a professor, you'll work with them, you'll get that LOR. That is for IIT students who are only doing the IIT. I would really, really, really recommend doing the TA or the course mentorship or emailing professors as soon as you can. of course, after having read their research, and say, I want to do a research internship with you. Otherwise, the LOR thing will disqualify you from any other further consideration because it's a basic requirement. I think for Charpak, you don't need an LOR. So then you can apply as an IITBS student.
Okay,
Yeah.
so last question that we can take up is on a side note, how did you manage offline college, IITM, and your internship?
Okay.
That's a
So
question, million-dollar question.
that's a question that everyone has asked me when I tell them I do 2 degrees. It In the first 2 years, it was a lot of sleepless nights because you have a bunch of deadlines. When I went for my internship, I took a semester break. I'm still taking a semester break so that I can catch up with my offline degree. As I mentioned, my GPA is quite high, and that doesn't come by just giving tests. Sadly, I need to study. I'm not one of those people who can just automatically get good marks. So there have been many times I've taken just one course or two courses in IIT and focused on my campus degree. And you need to make that trade off. When I went to Canada, I wanted to experience it completely. So I had a permission from my campus degree to go because of the attendance rule. And I took the RKA from IIT because I wanted to hang out with my friends on the weekend. I did not want to study because that experience is also a great teacher. So that's how I did it. My IIT degree will probably take me the entire 6 years to complete, but I'm fine with that. Sorry, Afreen, I can't
Yes,
hear
so
you.
I think we have actually come to the end of the session. So, do you
Yeah,
have
I
any?
have
Okay,
this
ma'am.
slide and then people can connect with me. So I'm going to answer everyone's question in a very structured way now. When you're in your first year, here's what you do. You do projects, you join clubs, right? Your projects do not have to be great. They just have to be there. Because unless you get your hands dirty, you will not learn anything. If you're only doing IITBS, maybe start figuring out how to make open source contributions. I haven't done it. I cannot guide you on that, but that is something that's really valuable in our industry. Um, Join hackathons, fail in them. It does not matter. I have taken part in a competition where my initial submission did not even get through, right? But that was a learning experience in itself. So join hackathons, learn what it's like to work in a team. Even to bring a team together is a big deal. And that is something that I've spoken about in interviews, right? Um, yeah. So if you can, look for local conferences, join IEEE, join those professional communities. You can do it with your student email ID. So keep that handy. Join whichever professional communities you find because they all have free membership. Look at the events that are happening that they are conducting locally. Go to those, talk to people. For people who are also doing on-campus degree, start talking to your professors in first year. They are not evil, mean people. They are teachers. It means they like helping people. So start talking to them. Ask your doubts. No question is too small. Attend your technical festival. Attend the technical festival of other colleges near you. Same advice. Fail in things, it does not matter. Join at least one club that is completely unrelated to your profession. The friends you will make in that are your future network. The experiences you have in that will develop your soft skills. Um, Again, start networking, never too early. Now comes to the exciting part, which a lot of you are in, your first work experience. If you are in India, in the current economy, it is okay if you do a 3 month internship, which is unpaid. Okay. You have your BDM project. That is the first thing I will start with. The BDM project, even if you don't take BDM till the end of your course, look at the project guideline document. It is full of so much information. The project introduction is available on YouTube. Watch it. Even if you've done the BDM project now without actually having registered for it, it will help you when you do BDM, right? And it will also get, instead of one project, you'll have two projects. So it's always a good thing. If you've done projects in your first year, now is the time you work on them, add them to your portfolio. So make sure that they're professional. Ask ChatGPT, I have this project. How should I make it better? This is the industry problem. How can I work it into my project? It'll give you some really bad answers, but sometimes it'll give you a good, the initial spark. And then you do it on your own. Now that I'm speaking of ChatGPT, please do not use it for everything you do. People can tell, especially people who are as experienced as professors, hiring managers, and whoever. So I know it's easy, but just don't do it. If you're writing a research paper, do not get ChatGPT to do it. Now is the time to also, now that you have projects, put it on GitHub, put it on LinkedIn, start talking to people on LinkedIn. I've done that a lot and it does work. So don't use up your free message that you get. You have 10 free messages a month or something. Don't use it. If someone's not going to accept your connection request, they're not even going to see the message. So send a message. Send a connection request. Then when they accept it, send a message saying, keep it short, say hi. I like this in your profile. I'm inspired by this in your profile. Can we talk about your experience, or can we talk about this thing, this project you've done? Most times people like it and they will help you. I have my LinkedIn in the next slide. You can connect with me. If you ever want to talk for 15 minutes, shoot me a message. I'll do my best to get back to you. Uh, as I've mentioned hundreds of times this entire talk, please become a course mentor. Please try to become a TA. It will help you endlessly. If you are not inclined to do that, volunteer in the house, get some sort of experience, and reach out to professors for research internships. Now, for people who are also doing a in-person degree, that's awesome. You can do projects with your professors. Maybe one will say, I don't have the time. Go to someone else. If you've made an effort in their class, most likely they'll say, if you want to do a project, we can. There are professors who've never met me, but because I've asked them a nice question and they've seen that I have an interest, they've said, if you want to do a project on it, we can. Right? It never hurts to have the conversation. You can very nicely tell them, hi professor so and so, thank you for offering that. Sadly, because I got busy with something, I won't be able to do it, but I really appreciate the fact that you offered. Show them that you're grateful at least, right? Then, because you're offline and you get semester breaks, do an internship during that semester break. Bombard the people in your college, the professors who deal with the placements. It might be annoying to them, and don't harass them, obviously, but tell them, I want to do an internship. I want to do it unpaid, just for 1 month. Is anyone hiring? Do you know anyone? Maybe don't do it every day, but yeah, they're there to help you, right? So utilize that network that you have inbuilt into your college. um Keep participating in your clubs, and that should keep you busy enough during your diplomas and your second and third year. In the final year, if you haven't done anything yet, it is completely okay. Many people haven't. um Start now. Start right after this. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. Don't beat yourself up. That won't get you anywhere. But what you can do, if you don't want to bother someone, is draft your first cold email, right? Again, this is something you can use ChatGPT for. Send it your draft and say, you are a professor who is really busy. Would you open this email? And it'll say no because your subject line is too long and the attention span won't be enough. Change it to so and so. So trial and error is what will get you there. Don't give up. I didn't have the best experience in college, but I kept at it because I like what I study. And if you like it will be super easy for you. So just keep at it, do your best, and yeah, you should be good. You can write down one word of what you'll take away from today, and then I'll share my email and LinkedIn with you. You guys can take a screenshot of it so that you can reach out. Um, if I don't respond, then I'm sorry about that. I'll do my best. That's all I can promise you at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, I would say, wow, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for walking us through the journey. Actually, each and every question that you have answered or everything that you have explained here is like with honesty and in full detail. So that is what I have actually liked it so much. And I'm sure that I'm not only the one here who's feeling inspired and maybe a little more hopeful about like the hard work that you were talking about, like where hard work can take us from here. So that's all. And with that, we have come to the end of the session. So I want to give another huge thanks to Muskan for sharing her story and giving us a peek behind the scenes of what is it like to secure such an incredible opportunity actually. So, and her explanation was full of details. I don't think so you have any kind of queries after that, but still you all can reach out to her through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And she has also shared her mail ID. Now it is these kind of talks, I would say, that remind us that yes, the path might be long, but with the right approach it's absolutely within your reach. So, and of course, at the end, a big thank you to all of you for joining us and for being, such an encouraging audience with those questions. And I would also want to say that remember, this is just the beginning. That all the sessions that we are doing. So there are many more to come your way. So I would ask you all to please stay tuned. And until then, I think you should keep building, keep applying, because you never know, like who knows, maybe the next time it'll be like you here sharing your success story. So anything is possible. So thank you so much, Muskan, once again. We can wrap up the session.
Thank you so much, Afreen. Before everyone's gone, I'd really like to thank you guys for sticking around. I didn't expect such a good turnout, honestly. I didn't expect people to stay till the end. So, yeah, thanks to the audience. And like Afreen mentioned, there are a lot of these webinars coming, but there's a couple that are already on the website, and that's on the um, DS website itself under events. So a lot of information that I have not been able to share because I didn't apply for those internships. You have seniors who have already gotten them. We have such a vast network in the IIT degree itself that everyone has all this knowledge. Go watch those webinars before the next ones come out. Use the learnings from everything. I hope it helped, and
Very true.
thanks for
Very
sticking
true,
around.
Muskan. Thank you so much for your kind words. Okay, so bye everyone.
Bye
We
bye.
won't
Thanks
keep
for
you
having
long for
me.
your dinner. Thank you.